It's 10 o'clock. We're going to get started. Good morning. My name is Brian Monahan. I'm an attorney, and the Board of Trustees has appointed me to serve as the hearing officer in this proceeding. When I talk about being a hearing officer, my role will be similar to a judge in that I will be managing the conduct of this proceeding and the flow of evidence. But I will have no vote in the outcome of this proceeding. My role is simply to assist the Board of Trustees in their decision-making. This is a quasi-judicial hearing. It's very similar to a courtroom proceeding, meaning this will look a lot like a hearing you would see in a civil courtroom. There are attorneys representing the employer and the employee. They will present an opening statement. They will present witnesses who will testify, and they will offer up evidence for this board to review. After the evidence is closed, they will present a closing statement. We will not be taking any questions from members of the public. I understand that is very different from a standard Woodstock Village Board of Trustees meeting. And this is different because this is a very different proceeding than that. These employment hearings are usually done in closed-door sessions. Here, the employee has requested a public hearing, and the board is honoring that request. While this is an open proceeding, it does not change the nature of what is happening here, so I will be adhering strictly to that protocol. So some important guidelines. Please turn your cell phone to silent. I will have zero tolerance for phones going off or any other interruptions, and I don't think we're going to have any, but I just want to be clear. Phones off. If we have any interruptions, I will have zero tolerance, and I will ask folks to leave. We have important work to do today. It's fairly crowded. The hearing is on Zoom so that others can watch it live. If it's too crowded for you or you have other issues, you, of course, may watch it on Zoom yourself. We expected there would be an opportunity for pool reporting for the media. For various reasons, that did not work out. Obviously, we have limited space, but the village, and particularly the Board of Trustees, must prioritize the employees' rights to a fair hearing above other interests. I expect there will be strong feelings about this matter. You are free to exercise those views anywhere outside of this judicial type proceeding, or even at a regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. But here, the board is obligated to hear only the evidence presented today, and I will permit no influences on the board's decision-making other than the evidence presented in this room. As I said earlier, this is different than a regular trustees meeting because it is a quasi-judicial proceeding where this board will consider the rights of the employee. And we use the word quasi-judicial because it means that this board is not actually a court conducting a judicial review, but it is an administrative board tasked with acting in a judicial fashion. Because of the sanctity of this proceeding, I ask that everyone respect the employee and the employer in the challenging work that we are here to do today, and refrain from making any comments, suggestions, shouts, mumbling, or anything like that. Please do not disturb this board or the parties as we go about this important work. We respect your right to be present, and we also ask that you respect the legal rights of the employee in this proceeding and the right of the manager for the employer to present evidence and the right of this board to conduct its work with the respect that it deserves. Logistics, we will take a break at approximately 12 noon, and then we'll take a break for 1 hour, and then we'll be back at 1 o'clock, and then I expect we will take about a 15-minute break every hour and a half or so thereafter. At this point, I am going to rule on some pending motions that were filed by counsel for the employee. The first motion is a motion to preclude new allegations against Chief Swanson not previously disclosed. I am denying that motion. While timesheets were not referenced in the Loudermill letters specifically, the issue was raised in the Loudermill letters, and thus those issues will be allowed as part of the evidence. The second motion was to preclude evidence pertaining to incidents prior to Chief Swanson's appointment, not involving any complaints or discipline. I grant the request as to the basis for discipline, but if that evidence is used for background by either party, I would admit that evidence. The next motion was to preclude evidence pertaining to alleged actions of Chief Swanson's husband, Nicholas Selden. I am denying that request in the expectation that this evidence is solely to prove what the employee heard or did in response to that. And got to read my handwriting here. And if the evidence goes beyond that, I will consider it at that point for its limited purpose. The next request was to preclude hearsay statements. I'm denying that request, as we already discussed in our pretrial conference on Monday. As ordinarily in these employment proceedings, hearsay evidence is allowed. This board will consider the evidence and give it the weight it deserves if it is indeed hearsay. And the last motion was to require the recusal of Trustees McElroy and Khan, and I'm denying that request for the same reasons as submitted in my ruling from last week. With that, I am going to request that if the attorneys have any last-minute issues they wish to raise before we begin, now is the opportunity to do that. So I'll begin with Attorney Klesch if you have any requests.
Thank you. Thank you, trustees. My only request is that I wanted to reiterate that the municipal manager would request that the trustees consider holding the session in executive session. We understand that an employee through counsel has stated that they wish it to be an open session. Do not contest that they have that right to do that. Just wanted on the record that the municipal manager would have requested that the session be an executive session.
Okay. Attorney Frass?
Nothing except my exceptions to the rulings, which I think are already on the record.
Okay.
Thank you.
And is it fair to say that you reiterate the request that this hearing be held in a public session?
Absolutely.
Okay. So going to deny the manager's request to do this in an executive session because of the employee's request under the open meeting law. Anything else that we need to address before we begin?
Not from us.
Okay. Counsel, now's the time for your opening statements. Counsel for the manager will go first. Counsel for the employee will go second. Then we will hear the evidence. Given that the manager carries the burden of proof in this proceeding, the manager will present evidence first. So, Attorney Klesch, please proceed.
Thank you very much. Thank you, trustees. My name is John Klesch. I'm an attorney from the Law Office of SPF Attorneys, and here today to present the case on behalf of the municipal manager in support of the determination that has been made and which is under appeal here today. That determination is the manager issued a decision in February of 2025 that Chief Swanson be demoted from that rank. We refer to Chief Swanson still as chief because Mr. Duffy's notice indicated that no actual demotion would be effective until there was an opportunity to exhaust an appeal right. And that's what we're here for today, is for that appeal right. So the issue today before you is going to be whether the evidence that you're going to hear does or does not support the determination that there is just cause for demotion here in this case. And one of the things you will see and hear as we proceed today is that Chief Swanson was hired under an employment agreement in July of 2023, and the agreement specifies that he can only be removed from his position for just cause. And you'll see that the agreement defines what just cause means. And what it means is what the town's and the village's personnel policy says. And so we will expect you'll hear testimony about what the personnel policy says those standards are, and ultimately that is the standard against which we're going to ask that the trustees evaluate the determination whether demotion is or isn't appropriate. The evidence you are going to hear today is fairly straightforward from our point of view. It's going to be in the nature of employees of the Woodstock Police Department will be here. They will describe to you their observations, their interactions with Chief Swanson during the time period since he was promoted to that position. We expect you're going to hear from the department administrator, Michelle Sutherland, parking enforcement specialist Teri Poljacik, Corporal Kirsten Murphy, Officer Mark Donka, Dispatch Supervisor Beth Terrian, Sergeant Chris O'Keefe, and then ultimately from Mr. Duffy himself, once you've heard what those folks have to tell you. We expect the evidence is going to show that there are serious performance concerns on the part of Chief Swanson in his role as chief. And not to tell you about all of them right now, but some of the items that we expect you will hear from witness testimony is that his presence at the police department is inconsistent. He frequently conducts personal business at the department. There is inconsistency on returning calls and emails and interacting with the public. That he has been dismissive of employee concerns presented to him. That he has not reinforced supervisor disciplinary decisions. That he is frequently out of uniform while on duty. That he has been critical and demeaning of some employees' positions in the department. That there is a pattern of untimely reporting of cases, completing case information. That he has criticized employees for doing their job. That he has shared evidence with non-authorized personnel. And that he has violated directives from the municipal manager. That may not be the entire universe, but that is a summary of some of what we expect the evidence will show. We also expect that you will hear evidence as to what the cumulative effect of conduct issues, performance issues has been, and how it's impacted department operations and morale, to the point where you will hear two key items today. One is that the union, which represents the police officers and then also represents the non-sworn personnel, so dispatch and administrators within the department, in November of 2024, issued a vote of no confidence regarding the chief and presented that to the municipal manager. You'll see and hear about that today. You will also hear, I expect, testimony that some of the witnesses who are going to be here today, who are key personnel in the department, have said that they expect they will leave the department if Chief Swanson is reinstated to active duty in that position. And the overall impact, again, as I said, of this evidence will be to look at what is the effect of morale and operational efficiency in the department in connection with Chief Swanson serving in that position. Finally, we expect you may hear some testimony from Mr. Duffy himself, talking again about why, when you sift through all this information, consider what alternatives may have been, consider what the employee may have presented in response to these issues, that the decision to go ahead with a demotion was reasonable and appropriate. In fact, part of the appropriateness is that there is no disagreement that Chief Swanson was a good police officer before he was promoted to chief. And so not only is the discipline level appropriate, the manager also believes that the kind of solution here is appropriate to restore Chief Duffy to a position that he was good at doing. Chief Swanson, pardon me, to restore him to a position that he was good at. We may offer brief closing arguments after the evidence. I expect very brief, that most of what we would plan to do is going to be in a post-hearing written submission, rather than try to summarize how all the evidence we expect you're going to hear today lines up with the concerns and issues that have been raised as the grounds for this disciplinary action. And so, but today we expect to ask that you listen to these witnesses. These are folks who are coming in who have really nothing to gain by their testimony. They're here being asked by the manager to come in and provide information that has been brought to light. And we thank you very much for your time and attention to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Klesch. Attorney
Thank you.
Frost.
Is it okay if I come?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good morning, members of the trustees. My name is Linda Fraz, and I am so honored to be here today representing Chief Swanson. Now, I am going to refer to him as Joe in this opening. Throughout the hearing, you'll hear me refer to him as Chief Swanson, because that's a formal, respectful title, and I want to give him the respect and honor that he deserves that has been so sadly denied him over the last several months. So, but for now, let's just talk about Joe. You all know Joe. Joe has, you know his roots in the community. He grew up here. You know that he's been on the police department for over 20 years in various capacities, starting out as a parking enforcer and working his way up. He wasn't promoted to chief. Let's clear that up. He applied for a job in a nationwide search and then signed a contract to be chief of police. And that contract is going to be important. But that is the basis of his employment with the town of Woodstock, not a promotion and a rank. He contracted, he was hired by some of you, I understand. And in the process of hiring him, you learned a lot about him. He had a thorough background check. You know that he's never had any discipline or complaints from the public. You know that his history has been stellar with the department. You know that he has served in the military. You know that he has committed himself to Woodstock fully. And when he became chief in July 15th, 2022, I'm going to get my dates right here. He became chief, and he was on probation for his first year, according to his contract. And Mr. Duffy was his supervisor during that first year. And Mr. Duffy's job was to ensure that he was doing his job properly and to provide coaching and supervision and to help Chief Swanson, help Joe to be the best chief he could be. And according to Chief Swanson's performance evaluation in June of 2024, just a few months ago, or several months ago now, he was doing a great job. We have the performance evaluation right here. This is a year in. He could have been terminated any time during that year. But no, a year in, he gets an evaluation from Mr. Duffy. You will have this, and we will actually be referring to this, as well as the employment contract. But in this evaluation, he responds well, his tasks are accomplished, he has my trust. This is Mr. Duffy's decision. Has my trust in decision making. Mr. Duffy writes that. Mr. Duffy writes in his own handwriting that he works hard and he's good with the staff, that his officers enjoy working with him, that he's had a good and effective first year. Every single line item on here meets or exceeds expectation. This is in June of 2024. And this was done by Mr. Duffy. And Joe thought things were going well. He had a great first year. He had a great experience. He increased the staff and fully staffed police department for the first time in years, I believe. He was received very many commendations. As you know, he had been injured on the job, shot in the line of duty in 2022, and he returned to work as soon as he could. He still suffers from some of those injuries, and he goes to physical therapy still on occasion. That's the background that we are dealing with here. So what happened? In June of 2024, he's a model employee, gets along great with the officers, everything is going well. You must be sitting there, what happened? What could have gone wrong? Well, this all started
I'm very sorry to interrupt, but this sounds more like a closing argument than an opening statement. That's my only quick comment. I apologize.
Can we leave some of the facts for the evidence, please, and you can give us an overview of what the evidence will be?
Of the facts, yes. The facts are that on October 13th, Chief Swanson was a passenger in his husband's vehicle, and there was a minor altercation between his husband and another motor vehicle operator. Joe responded briefly, momentarily, to deal with the situation, de-escalate the situation, bring peace. Everything, it was so minor that he didn't feel the need to do anything further. There was no other response necessary. That situation was minor, but it led to major consequences for Joe, because even though he was clear, 2 law enforcement agencies have cleared him from any wrongdoing related to that incident. But Mr. Duffy became angry about that, and he started a course of actions against Chief Swanson that led to all of this. The first thing that he did was put him on administrative leave, and that was supposedly while the investigation was pending by the Vermont State Police. So he puts him on leave, he takes his gun, his badge, tells him he can't go into the police station, he tells the officers that they can't speak to him about anything related to employment issues. He does this, and presumably that was while the Vermont State Police were investigating. But when the Vermont State Police report came back that there was nothing, he continues to keep him on leave. And Joe is perplexed, like, why is he on leave? Well, it turns out the reason that he is on leave is because after he's kept out of work, not allowed to talk to his employees, Mr. Duffy hears complaints from a parking enforcer. These are all hearsay complaints, and there are things about that she might have heard, somebody else might have said, rumors, gossip. He decides that this forms the basis for an investigation into Joe. Joe's contract says that complaints should be dealt with at the lowest possible level. What does Mr. Duffy do? Not deal with it at the lowest possible level. He, even after Joe is cleared, he starts a secret internal investigation. Invites all of Joe's staff to come and complain about him, whatever they want. Do you think he's been unprofessional? Do you think he's done any violations? He sets forth a whole series of interviews with an investigator that he hires. And meanwhile, Joe isn't allowed to talk to these people. He doesn't know what's going on. So you might wonder, what was it that started, what were these complaints that led to this secret investigation, that led to this entire process? Theft, bribery, excessive force, drugs, alcohol, like what kinds of things could possibly make Mr. Duffy ignore the contract about Lois, ignore protocol about bringing complaints to the person, and go into a full investigative mode? He brought the full force of 2 law enforcement agencies and a private investigator against Joe. They spent 57 hours looking at anything and everything that Joe has done in 15 months. Every single thing that has come up has been so minor, and you will hear that in the testimony. The things that they found in 15 months, 1 death investigation that was still incomplete for an unsuspicious death, 1 email that he did not see while he was on vacation for some inconsequential thing that didn't really end up mattering. People don't like the fact that he sometimes works in the office without his full uniform shirt on. He's got his uniform pants but not his shirt. They don't like he's got a flexible schedule and he makes up the time. A lot of these things were misimpressions, misunderstandings, and just hearsay rumors and gossip. They didn't know that Joe was on salary. Some of the employees thought he was trying to take advantage of the system when he was doing flex time. Or if he was saying, sign me in, and he was out patrolling. They didn't understand that he was a salaried employee, that he works far more than 40 hours. I had Joe go through his phone records to show you 900 calls on nights, weekends, and and holidays taking from his employees. He is a dedicated employee. And what you are going to hear from disgruntled staff, and again, they were invited to complain. They were invited to come and say, who amongst us would not be complaining about someone if invited to do so? And the kinds of complaints were the things that you normally would talk it out, you would resolve, you could go to the person, but no. Instead, that's what it turned into this major event. And just to give you a little sort of guideline in terms of time frames, because you're going to be hearing about some dates, and I just wanted to give you a little overview quickly, so that when you hear this, you'll sort of have an overview in your mind as to when these things happen. So, obviously, Chief Swanson began his position in July of 2023. We talked about the evaluation. There were no complaints, no discipline, no notice of performance issues at all in between the time, between June and October. The other thing I want to point out is that nothing you're going to hear suddenly developed. These were things that the employees are talking about from a year ago, from months ago. So these are things that all could have been easily addressed at the employee evaluation or before. So we have the traffic incident. We have Mr. Duffy getting very upset that he hasn't been notified, even though all of the police officer people who investigated said there was nothing that Joe should have done differently to notify Mr. Duffy. He didn't commit any unprofessional conduct or any violations, but Mr. Duffy believed that he should have been notified, and that upset him. It hurt his feelings. So he decided to use the full force of all of his power to put Mr. Duffy on administrative leave. And then he goes and hears these complaints. He starts his investigation. He never ever receives one complaint in writing before he begins this private, secret internal investigation, contrary to any policy. So then Mr. Duffy doesn't get the official complaints, but he decides anyway to go forward. The Vermont State Police closed their investigation with no findings of any misconduct against Joe. And then he expects to go back to work, but he can't go back to work because Mr. Duffy keeps him out. And while he's keeping out, he sends emails to people saying, I want to give you the opportunity to complain about Chief Swanson. I want to tell me anything and everything, any violation or lack of professional duties. And then they complain about these minor issues, including messy desk, messy car, things. You'll hear these things for yourself here. Mr. Duffy refuses to reinstate Joe even after he's cleared. The other part of this is he gets this investigation. The investigation goes into all of the allegations he possibly can think of against Joe. Parking tickets that Joe hasn't yet dealt with. Not that he's dismissed any. You will hear that Joe has never once fixed any ticket for anybody, his own sister. No allegations that he's fixed any tickets, just that there's some outstanding that haven't been dealt with. You'll hear that people don't like his schedule. You'll hear lies about him that were just hearsay, that are proven. I'm not just saying somebody's lying. I'm saying it was gossip about, he didn't respond to calls. No dispatcher will ever testify that Joe refused to respond to a call. In fact, they will say the opposite. He is always. But somehow the rumor mill got started. He didn't come to this incident. But that just wasn't true. And then another rumor got started. He gave his husband a passcode to the police station. No, he did not. And if he did, I'm sure we would be seeing videos and knowing about that. He never did that. There were things, as I said, misunderstandings, misimpressions, hearsay, rumors, gossip. All of this gets put into a report. Well, the report gets sent to the Vermont Council, Vermont Criminal Justice Council, at VCJC. And they look at all of these allegations that Mr. Duffy has indicated in his report. All of these I just told you, the parking tickets, the death investigation, the email that wasn't responded to in time, looks at all of those, and they say no unprofessional conduct. There was no unprofessional conduct for any of those things that Mr. Duffy was trying to allege. So So then, instead of, again, reinstating Mr. Duffy, he goes forward with discipline, trying to get discipline. I'm sorry, do you need me to interrupt?
Keep going, please.
Okay. So he is disciplined, he gets a discipline letter from Mr. Duffy in January.
Could you just grab your mic, perhaps, and maybe put it on the witness table so that we can hear you better in Zoom?
We can swing that one around and turn it on. Yeah. Turn it on and turn it around.
If I may, I would just like to reiterate, respectfully objection that, again, we're hearing commentary on witness that's not, evidence that's not in the record. We're not hearing about a proffer of what the evidence will be.
Yeah, I tend to agree. We're going pretty far into the facts along with interpretation of the facts, which is really kind of farther than an opening statement typically is, so I'm hoping we can wrap this up soon.
I will. So I was at the point where the Vermont VCJC says there's no unprofessional conduct. He still doesn't get back to work. Instead, he's issued these disciplinary letters. First disciplinary letter, then he doesn't make a decision on it. He gets the results from the Vermont Council saying no professional conduct, and then he goes back and issues a second letter about all these petty and minimal concerns that the employees had, and then finally he decides that those are sufficient to demote Joe. And as you listen to the evidence in this case, what I want you to be very aware of is that just cause for termination is a legal concept, and I'm sure your attorney will be instructing you. But the issue is whether Joe did things so egregious, whether his misconduct was so egregious that he is not fit for his position. That is, there's two criteria actually. Whether his actions were so egregious. When you hear the evidence, think to yourself, is this so outrageous that this man should be fired? They're so outrageous, and that the person had noticed that whatever was being alleged against him was going to result in discharge. So those are legal concepts, legal criteria. The law is very clear on that. So as you are listening to the evidence, just keep those things in mind, that there was no egregious conduct, that this was nothing that we should not be here today, that nothing here rises to the level of termination, that Joe is not an incompetent, unfit police officer, chief of police. He did not suddenly become that between June and today, and that is the evidence. And I hope and I feel confident that after you hear this, that Joe will be reinstated to the position that he has worked his whole life to achieve and that he desperately wants to return to. Thank you.
Thank you. Attorney Klesch, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So for our first witness, thank you. For our first witness, we'd like to call Michelle Sutherland. Shall I go find her? Or?
Can you grab her, please, Christine? Michelle Sutherland.
Matt, do we have the binders that we can give to trustees, even if they need to be fixed up? We won't get this one. Brian, may we hand out exhibit books to
Yes,
the...
please. Good morning.
So these are the exhibits that might get looked at.
Okay. Okay.
I guess a legal issue before we start with witness testimony. I just want to, for the record, we've handed exhibit books to the trustees, to counsel, to the witness. But we're not necessarily moving admission of all of these exhibits at this time.
Okay.
In fact, some we probably will not be moving admission, but just for convenience, so that if there are exhibits that come up during the testimony, the trustees and the witness can look along.
Okay.
All right.
First order of business, Ms. Sutherland, could I ask you to raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear that the evidence you shall give relative to the cause now under consideration shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. And another question is it okay to sit during this proceeding, since we're here for
Whatever's comfortable for
semi-formal
you.
proceeding?
Just speak loudly, I think, please.
Okay, thank you. All right. Good morning, ma'am. Would you please tell us your name?
Michelle Sutherland.
Okay, and Michelle, you are an employee of the Village of Woodstock, is that correct?
Correct.
And would you tell us what your position is?
Administrative secretary.
Okay, and what does that mean?
I'm the secretary for the police department. I've been there for 40 years. I do all the paperwork.
Okay, and you're here this morning at the request of the municipal manager, Mr. Duffy?
Yes.
Okay. Would you, without going into too great a detail, tell us a little bit more about what your job involves?
I do all the criminal cases. I do discovery for them. I do all the parking tickets. I process all of them. I do the traffic tickets. I sign officers up for court hearings. Whatever, all the filing, whatever needs to be done, I can take care of it.
Okay. And what does your typical work schedule look like?
I work Monday through Friday from 8 to 4.
Okay. And in that capacity, do you interact with the public at all?
Yes.
And what is that like?
They will come in with complaints or to pay tickets, any questions. I can help them out, whatever I can do for them.
Okay. And does your position involve interacting with the chief of police?
Yes.
And to what extent? A little bit, a lot? Just give us some understanding.
Yeah, quite a lot. I mean, we have to go over cases and, yeah.
Okay. And prior to Chief Swanson, well, strike that. Let me ask. In your job, have you had experience to say what has been the presence of chiefs in the department, like on a sort of daily or regular basis?
The chiefs have always been there, usually from 7 to 3, 8 to 4, throughout the day, Monday through Friday.
Okay. And are you talking about chiefs prior to Chief Swanson?
Prior to Chief Swanson.
Okay. And in your job, have you had the opportunity to see and know what Chief Swanson's presence in the department has been?
Yes.
Okay, and would you tell us a little about that? What is that like, and how is it different than other chiefs, if it is?
He doesn't really seem to be on the schedule like the others. Comes in usually 10, 11 o'clock. He's there for a short time. He may leave again. Yeah.
Okay. Is there a reliable, consistent time you expect to see him during weekdays?
It would be nice if, he came in at work from 8 to 4 like the rest of us are 8 to 3, but you just never know.
Okay. And how does that impact your work at all, not knowing where he is?
Yeah, it's tough because if people come in with questions or want reports or, I don't know where he is, I don't know when he's coming in, it's kind of embarrassing, pretty unprofessional.
Okay. And when prior chiefs would leave the department, how's that different from with Chief Swanson?
They would always tell me when they were there and when they left.
And so Chief Swanson was serving as chief from roughly July 2023 till he went on leave in October 2024.
Mm-hmm.
So during that period of time, is this sort of inconsistent presence at the department, was this something that happened a couple times, or is it something that happened?
Daily.
Okay. Now, have you also had a chance to observe whether Chief Swanson has been out of uniform in the department?
Yes.
And tell us what you've observed in that respect.
He will come in uniform pants, usually a black or white T-shirt. His shoes aren't shined. His hair's a mess. I mean, it's, yeah.
And let me ask, like, so what? What does that have to do with anything?
So it's, if somebody comes in to see him, I mean, sometimes I've seen him go out into the lobby to speak to somebody looking that way. It's unprofessional.
Okay. And how does that make you feel about the department?
It's an embarrassment.
Can you give us some more understanding of the kind of clothes you see Chief Swanson in sometimes, which are not uniform?
Like mismatched socks, a ball cap.
Hold on. No, I will not tolerate that. That is very disrespectful of this witness. That will not happen again. And I mean that for the audience as well as for counsel. Thank you.
A ball cap that's not a Woodstock police. He doesn't have, it's just some random ball cap.
Have you seen whether he meets people from the public out of uniform?
He has.
And tell us about that. What's that look like?
I know he went to an accident once. He was out of uniform, and I believe the person in the accident said to the officer, who's this guy? And the officer's like, well, that's our chief. So.
And help us understand, so for those of us that aren't regularly in the police department, how is it that you in your position in the administrator office actually would see what Chief Swanson does or doesn't have on for clothing at any given time?
What do you mean?
Like how do you know what he's wearing on any given day?
I see him come in.
Okay. That you physically see him?
I see him come in the office.
Okay. Where your workspace is, you can see Chief coming and going?
Yeah.
And how would you compare or contrast what you see with Chief Swanson's sort of dress habits versus prior chiefs?
Prior chiefs come in every day in full uniform, very professional looking. That's the way they always dressed. Always. I think you said that Chief Swanson will leave the department during the day and come and go? Correct.
And do you hear from him where he's going sometimes when he's coming and going?
I'll hear him tell an officer or dispatch. Yes, he will tell them where he's going.
And can you tell us about whether he's going out on police business or personal business, or what have you heard?
Personal business.
What are some examples of that?
To his mother's house, his house, his husband's place of work.
Okay. And again, what if any impact does that have to department operations or your work and your view of things?
Like I said, I come in from 8 to 4. I come in, I don't leave the office, I get the mail. And I think when you come in, you should be available.
Okay. Now, one of the things I understand that your work involves is working on the department's filings or submissions into the so-called Valcor system.
Yes.
Can you tell us real briefly what Valcor is?
Valcor is a system that we use. All the cases go in this computer system. It's for the state.
Okay. And Does Valcor have anything to do with what officers of the department are doing at any given time of day?
Yes.
Explain that to us.
So it just keeps a log when they call in that they're on foot patrol or have a traffic stop. Dispatch logs it in.
Okay. So, for example, if Officer Smith, making up a name, right, is not in the station, you could, but they're on duty, you should be able to look on Valcor and see what they're doing.
Correct.
Okay. Have you ever had occasion to look on Valcor to try to see what Chief Swanson's doing at times when he's not been there during the day?
Yes.
And tell us about your experience.
There's no logs. There's nothing there.
And again, is this something that happened once or twice, or this is something that happens with some?
Daily.
Okay. And as an employee who works, 8 to 4 and maybe goes out for coffee, how does that make you feel?
Who goes out for coffee?
Oh, you. If you go out for
If I
coffee.
go out for coffee?
Yeah, how does it make you feel when you see the chief kind of having this kind of work habits?
It's wrong. I mean, we have a kitchen right there. We have coffee makers. There's no reason to go.
Okay. Michelle, are you able to tell us at all about whether you observe any effects on morale in the department based on the things we've been talking about?
Morale was really down.
Okay, well, tell us what's your foundation for telling us that?
There was just everyone was very upset with the way things are going. There was no structure. Yeah.
Okay. Have you seen or heard other officers talking about they conduct themselves based on how they see Chief Swanson conducting himself?
Yes.
And tell us about that.
Like if the trash isn't emptied or cleaned up, they don't bother to do it either. They figured he doesn't do it, why should we? Why should we keep the office clean?
Is there any?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any information about whether other officers are or not on time for their shifts?
Everyone is very punctual.
Okay. Now, one of the things that I think's been asked about is whether Chief Swanson is good or bad or somewhere in between about returning calls or emails or inquiries from the public. And is that anything you have information on?
He's not good at returning phone calls.
Okay, and can you give us what is some background for what makes you say that?
I got a phone call one day from someone that I thought was pretty important, and I told Chief Swanson, and it was just brushed off.
What was that call about?
They had a call regarding Billings Farm and possible some issues with some animals over there. And the state called me and said they'd received a phone call from someone and they wanted it looked into. So I sent Chief Swanson the information, and he just said he wasn't going to worry about it.
And have you personally tried to reach Chief Swanson during the day?
Yes.
And like how successful or unsuccessful is that?
He will return my call.
He does, okay. Now, when you're there in the workplace and Chief Swanson is there, do you ever have opportunity to see whether he's doing personal business?
I've heard him do personal business.
Like what are some
I've heard him talking on his phone.
Okay. So is it something that you see to an extent that it's out of proportion to what other people do? Or is it sort of ordinary, like everyone does that same amount of personal business?
No.
Which is it?
No, not everyone does their personal business. They're doing police work.
Okay. So if I can, not to put words in your mouth, are you saying that what you see from Chief Swanson is more personal business in the workplace than you see for other people?
Yes.
What are some examples of things you've heard him on calls or talking about that you would say is personal business?
I know that when they purchased their condo in Florida, he was talking, had a Zoom call to finish up the sale, and I heard him, I know he was doing that in the office. I've heard him, remark about family members reaching out to him to go biking or skiing or, whatever activities they were going to do.
Okay. Now, is one of your jobs as administrator that you help arrange officers' appearances for court?
Yes.
Okay. And was there an occasion, since Chief Swanson became chief, when you talked to him about having to appear for traffic court?
Yes.
And tell us what happened.
He had a traffic hearing. I believe it was like 9 o'clock, 9:30 in the morning, and he came in the office shortly after, and I said, "You had traffic court," and he just, "Oh, well, they got a freebie today." All traffic court is done over a Zoom, so you don't have to go to White River.
Okay. And was that event pretty soon after he had become chief?
I don't remember the exact date.
Okay. Again, I guess I'll say again, so what? Like, what does that mean for the department? What does that mean for your job?
It's an embarrassment to the department.
Did you let the court know that he wouldn't be
I
coming?
wasn't aware that he was not going to show up.
Do you know what happened at court that day?
I do not recall what happened.
Now, so we talked about Valcor and how it tracks where on-duty officers are at any given time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes. Is it also the system by which the department keeps records of incidents?
Yes.
Okay. And so, without going again too deep a detail, when an officer has a case, what are they supposed to do on the Valcor system?
They need to fill out all the information, do a narrative.
Okay. And are there any sort of, expectations in terms of timing when an officer should do that sort of work with regard to an
It
incident?
should be done within 30 days.
What's that? Should be in 30 days?
The case should be completed, done. I mean, something should be in the system.
Okay. When, do you have any information or feedback for us about when a narrative, is expected to be entered into Valcor?
We like the narratives in there as soon as possible.
Okay. And can you tell us whether you have any experience with whether Chief Swanson, again, this is in his time since chief, not back when he was
Right.
an officer.
Mhm.
How has his habits been with regard to timely entering of information in Valcor?
He's slacking on it.
What does that practically mean?
He does not get them in like they should be.
Have you had occasion that you or others have had to, sort of pester him to get things entered?
Yes.
And again, is that similar to your experience with prior chiefs?
No.
What was their habits with regard to?
It was done.
Is there anything that you'd expect to go into Valcor by the end of an officer's shift with regard to an incident they fielded that day during a shift?
It should go in. It should go in.
And are you saying sometimes Chief Swanson doesn't meet that standard?
He does not.
can you say, can you sort of put any sort of statistic on it? You know, is it sort of like half the time he's on time, 25% of the time he's on time?
I mean, half the time.
Is in terms of how other officers in the department are, in terms of their timeliness of getting information submitted to Valcor, how would you rank Chief Swanson compared to everybody else?
Meaning,
Oh, like, is he, like, in the middle of the pack being timely? Is he does he get it in faster than everyone else? Does he get it in worse, slower than everyone else?
slower.
And again, this is something that your job, you do check the Valcor to see if entries are being made.
I do.
Okay. And just, I think it might be worth asking just why is that part of your work?
Because people come in for copies of the reports or accident reports, and I like them to be there and be done.
Is one example that there was a death investigation report that was not timely
Yes.
submitted? Okay. Let's take a look at, we're going to look at an exhibit together, so if you can crack that open. And take a look at number 19. Actually, let's take a look at number 20, pardon me. Okay, do you have 20 there?
I do.
Can you tell the trustees what we're looking at?
We're looking at a death investigation that happened in January of '24.
Is that a printout from Valcor data?
It is.
Okay. And I don't know if you can see when this was or wasn't printed off, but I think there's one date on here. If you turn to the second page of the exhibit toward the top there, it looks like Officer Aurora entered something on January 25th.
He did.
All right, so does that tell us that this is at least at least January 25th is the latest this could have been, the earliest this could have been printed, excuse me,
Right.
right? And what does the document show about, oh, sorry, and in the top right corner of the first page, it says who the primary officer is.
Yes.
Who is it?
Joe Swanson.
Okay. There's a numerical designation of 481. Is that Chief Swanson's code?
It is.
Okay. And what do we see here from Exhibit 20 in terms of whether information you'd expect to see was or wasn't timely entered?
There's no narrative.
It's not numbered, unfortunately, but if you flip about 5 or 6 pages in, there's a page that looks like this, Michelle, right here.
Yes.
Is that where, so it's the page at the top, it says narrative type, narrative template?
Correct.
Is that the page where you'd expect the narrative to be?
Yes.
By the way, just so for clarification, since I mentioned Exhibit 19, will you just take a quick look at that?
Okay.
Okay. The 19, is that a record you deal with, or what are we looking at there?
I don't deal with this.
Okay. Now, back to 20, the death investigation, that was the subject of Exhibit 20. Have you checked before today, coming into the hearing today, to see whether, the narrative, et cetera, had been entered at has been entered at all?
I didn't check today, but it's not there. Wasn't there yesterday.
Okay. Was it, have you checked it since Chief Swanson went on leave in October 2024?
Yes,
Okay, and it wasn't done then?
correct.
Now, I understand that you are a member of the union that represents department employees?
Yes,
That's the New England Police Benevolent Association,
yes,
NEPBA? Okay. And I also understand that the union voted to issue a no confidence letter regarding Chief Swanson.
correct.
Okay. And let's take a look at Exhibit M, or I'm sorry, just Exhibit 7. You have it?
I do.
Is Exhibit 7 a copy of the no confidence letter that the department issued? I'm sorry, that the union issued?
Yes,
Okay. And I understand there may be another somewhat similar looking version to what we see here as Exhibit 7. Are you aware of that?
yes.
And would you tell the trustees what we see here, if anything, in Exhibit 7 that's different from some other version?
We just added the word unanimously on the first line.
Okay. And are you the person who submitted a copy of Exhibit 7 to Mr. Duffy?
Yes.
And do you recall roughly when that was?
November 22nd?
Okay, of 2024.
Yes.
Okay. And is this Exhibit 7 we have here, is this the final copy that the union approved?
It is.
It's not a draft?
No.
Okay. And you've read this before today.
Yes.
Do you agree with what it says?
Yes.
Before I forget, I just move admission of 7, 19, and 20.
Any objection?
Nope.
Seven, 19, and 20 are admitted.
Thank you. Okay. Since October 2024, when Chief Swanson went on leave, am I correct that Sergeant O'Keefe has been the acting chief?
He has.
Okay. And is there any contrast in the way things are run, for lack of a better word, now compared to when Chief Swanson was serving as chief?
Things are running much, much better.
And give us a little more substance around that, please.
Sergeant O'Keefe has pulled the department together. He's punctual. He's organized. He's doing an excellent job.
Okay. Now, I understand that in February, you received word that Chief Swanson would be coming into the department for some reason. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall, first of all, what day it was that you learned Chief Swanson may be coming to the department?
It was a Thursday in February.
Okay.
I don't know.
If I suggest February 20, does that sound right to you?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall what it was you heard was the purpose Chief Swanson would be coming in for?
He was coming in to get his training records out of his office.
Okay. And tell us what happened.
I was sitting at my desk. I heard the door open. I turned around. I saw Chief Swanson come in. He went into his office for a few minutes. He came out, entered my office, put a letter on my desk, went in dispatch, came back out, went in his office, came back out in the squad room, got some 3-ring binders. Then he posted the letter he had on the board where we put the schedule, and he left.
Okay. Do you remember him saying anything to you when he showed you that letter?
He said something about it was a letter from the Criminal Justice Training Council, that they found him at no fault.
Okay. And let's take a look at Exhibit 10, please. Is that the letter Chief Swanson handed you?
It is.
Did the copy he handed you have highlighting on it?
It did.
Okay, this one obviously does not. Right.
Right.
And did he leave that copy of it on your desk?
Yes.
Okay. Was there any reason related to your work as administrator for you to need a copy of that letter?
I did not need a copy of it.
Okay. Was there any reason related to your work for Chief Swanson to come in and give you any news about this?
No.
Okay. Did you even know what he was talking about?
No, I did not.
Okay. I'm going to move admission of Exhibit 10 for limited purpose of just that it is the document that was handed to the witness, not proposing to admit it for its truth at this time.
Okay, any objection?
I've never heard of that admission contingent. It's either a full document or it isn't it? I mean, I agree to the admission, but I don't understand the condition.
It's a new one to me, but I'm going to admit it on that basis.
Right. All right. How did you feel about that experience, Chief Swanson, coming in and doing what you just described?
I was uncomfortable. Like I said, he was to go in his office and leave. We didn't expect him to come into my office.
Okay. And in fact, am I correct that you notified Mr. Duffy about your concerns?
I did.
And if we turn to Exhibit 11, is that an email from you to Eric Duffy describing what you just testified about?
It is.
Okay. And is that more or less an accurate recount of what you just told us about?
Correct.
And what did you write in the last sentence of this email to Eric Duffy, Michelle?
I felt extremely threatened, intimidated, and very, very uncomfortable with Joe Swanson in the office and in my office.
Okay. Move admission of number 11.
No objection.
11 is admitted.
Michelle, have you thought about what you would do in terms of your position at the department if Chief Swanson is reinstated to active service as chief?
Yes.
And tell us about that, please.
I will leave the department
Why?
because I can't work with Chief Swanson
Why do you feel that way?
due to the way he runs the department.
Okay. Okay, if I could just have one moment.
Yes.
Okay. Michelle, I have no further questions for you at this time. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Just a moment. I just want to be clear about the laughing.
I'm sorry, it was a spontaneous outburst.
Yeah.
I
Let me finish,
apologize
please.
to the
Let me finish,
trustees.
please.
I apologize to you.
I made an admonition. I expected the audience, please let me finish.
I'm sorry.
I expected I might have this problem with the audience. I did not expect to have this problem with counsel or with parties.
Totally
Let me
understand.
finish, please.
Okay.
I am embarrassed that I even have to go through this conversation. It means it was an extraordinary level of disrespect for this witness. I cannot understand why that would happen. You, counsel, were leading the charge, laughing, and your client was laughing as well, which made the audience laugh as well. So it was just extraordinarily disrespectful of this witness, and I know you want the opportunity to cross-examine this witness. And in light of that, I mean, one thing I could do is I could prohibit you from crossing the witness, because that was just so disrespectful. So I want to be clear, this is the last warning. If that happens again, this will become a closed proceeding, and the evidence will simply continue without your presence, without your client's presence, and I will ask the audience to leave as well. This witness deserves our respect, and that will not happen again. Are we clear?
Very clear, and
Thank
I'm
you.
very sorry. And it was honestly just spontaneous. I should have been able to predict it. I didn't, and I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. May I cross-examine?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Sutherland, good morning.
Morning.
You said you can't work with Chief Swanson because of how he runs the department?
Correct.
You worked with him for 15 months, didn't you?
I did.
Okay. During those 15 months, you never went to Mr. Duffy and made any complaints about him, did you?
Did not.
Okay. And in fact, the first time you made any complaints about him was after you got an email inviting you to make a complaint, correct?
Say that one more time.
The first time you actually made any complaints about Chief Swanson to Mr. Duffy was after you got an email inviting you to make a complaint?
Okay.
Is that correct?
I don't know what email.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You have an exhibit to give the witness?
Exhibit 19.
Yes, you may.
Which side?
If it's numbers, it's going to be the employer's exhibits, the manager's exhibits.
Ms. Sutherland, I'm showing you an email. It says that this is being sent out to employees, and it's over the last few days.
Pardon, hold up. 19 doesn't say that. What are we talking about here?
My exhibit 19?
This is your exhibit 19?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you receive an email that essentially asked you to make any complaints after this part?
Let me read it.
May I see the document? About it?
It's in my, you have my copy, right?
Yeah, can you just wait a minute, Attorney Frost? We're just trying to figure out, this is you have numbered exhibits, is that right?
Correct, 19. You should have a copy, a bound copy.
And does counsel for the manager have this too? Okay.
Yes.
All right, please proceed.
My question, Ms. Sutherland, is did you receive something about making
I did not
complaints?
read, that's not to me.
I know, but did you, it says it was sent to employees, to staff, including dispatchers.
I would have to look.
You don't recall?
I don't
seeing it?
recall right now.
Thank you. Ms. Sutherland, the first time you made any complaints was within days of Chief Swanson being placed on administrative leave, correct?
Correct.
And that was at an invitation. You didn't spontaneously decide to go complain to Mr. Duffy, correct?
We spoke to Mr. Duffy after he came in and told us Chief Swanson was going on admin leave.
And you, was it you and parking enforcer Teri that went to him?
I did not go with her.
So when Chief Swanson was placed on leave was the first time you went to Mr. Duffy?
Correct.
And that was within days, correct?
We went in right when Mr. Duffy was in the building.
Okay. And you didn't know why Chief Swanson was placed on leave, correct?
We knew it had something to do with an incident on High Street.
But you didn't know exactly why or what he might have done wrong, correct?
No.
And when you met with Mr. Burgess, you were asked to, he was the investigator that was hired by Mr. Duffy, you understand that,
Correct.
correct? When you met with Mr. Burgess, you were invited to make to start out with any unprofessional conduct items you wanted to talk to him about, correct?
Correct.
And as an administrative secretary, you had no training on evaluating the unprofessional conduct of a police chief, correct?
Correct.
If I may assert an objection here, I'm not sure I see the relevance of a process by which timing or reasons, whatever, that complaints may have been brought to Mr. Duffy's attention. My understanding of the issue before the trustees today is whether the evidence that they're hearing from witnesses, from exhibits, does or doesn't demonstrate just cause. So I'm at a loss to understand why the witness was interviewed by somebody 6 months ago or whatever the timing was, has to do with whether there is or is not just cause based on today's evidence.
Attorney Frost?
Yes, this isn't just about today's events. This is about the underlying facts and background as to how these complaints emerged. And Chief Swanson's entire history and background in terms of, since he became chief, is very relevant, and Ms. Sutherland's awareness of that and when she first made complaints is very relevant to the entire process.
I'm going to deny the objection. Please proceed.
Thank you. And one of the first things you mentioned to Mr. Burgess when you had your interview, that was on November 12th, was that you were very upset about Chief Swanson's desk, correct? It was an absolute mess.
Correct.
He never emptied his trash.
Correct.
You described that as a disaster.
Correct.
Very embarrassing.
Correct.
Now, Chief Swanson's office is private, isn't it?
The door's open.
But you're only supposed to enter if you're authorized, right?
I don't think so.
Are
I
you
mean, I go-
authorized
Yeah, I can go in.
anytime you want?
Yeah.
Okay. And when you go in, do you inspect his trash?
No, but it's on the floor.
Okay. And as a secretary, do you believe it's within your role to evaluate the cleanliness of the chief's office and how he keeps his trash can?
Well, when people come in to see him and it looks like that, it's pretty embarrassing to the department that his office looks like that. I try to keep mine very nice.
Okay. And as a secretary, do you believe that it's within your role to evaluate his fashion choices around his outfits?
Yes.
Okay. And you said there was a time when he was out of uniform in an accident scene. You weren't at that accident scene, were you?
No, but I pulled video.
And did you introduce the video anywhere?
No, but we keep them on file.
Well, you knew that Chief Swanson not being in uniform was a major part of this case, correct?
Yes.
Objection. She's asking the witness why the witness didn't bring certain evidence to the hearing today.
Yeah, I don't understand the question or why that's relevant.
Well, she's saying there's a video of Chief Swanson at an accident scene out of uniform, and that's a significant issue, and we've never been produced that.
It's not the witness's obligation to bring
Well, she
the
just said
evidence
she
to
saw it. Okay, let me ask a different question. Did you bring that to anyone's attention?
Sergeant O'Keefe knows about it.
Okay, and do you know what happened to that video?
I believe it's still in the office.
Okay, and that's the last you know of that video?
Yes.
Okay. You testified that Chief Swanson usually comes in at 10 or 11 a.m. in the morning.
Correct.
Are you aware that your coworker, Lisa Linton, she works full-time, right?
Yes.
And she's in the office more often than not in the mornings?
Not every day.
But she's in there full-time, right?
She is.
Okay. Are you aware that she actually is going to testify or has testified to the contrary, that the chief is usually there by 9 or 9:30?
Objection.
Yeah, sustained. This is not an evidence.
Well, it will be.
And after that, if you want to, that will establish your case at that point. But I don't understand how this witness can testify to that if she has not heard that.
You and Lisa Linton have not discussed what time Chief Swanson comes in?
No.
Okay. And you were talking about the Valcourt system. That is up to the dispatchers to answer. Actually, the dispatchers enter when Chief Swanson goes in and out of the office, correct?
Correct.
And you said in your direct, you said he does tell dispatch when he leaves, correct?
He should, yes.
So they're the ones that should be entering it in, correct?
Correct.
All right. And you talked about a 30-day deadline. That's for traffic reports, correct?
Correct.
Other reports don't have the same deadline, do they?
I don't know if the state has a deadline for reports or not.
Okay. And when you went through the Valcourt system, you produced the death the death investigation as one example,
Mm-hmm.
but you said there were others?
Yes.
Why didn't
I-
you produce any of them?
No one asked.
Same objection.
It's not on the witness record. If you want to ask her about others, you're welcome to do that.
You didn't give those documents to anybody?
No one asked.
So in 15 months, the only documents that you found in the Valcourt system that did not, in your opinion, comply with the rules around this 30-day were the death investigation and the email that surrounding evidence?
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
Pardon me?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And these other ones that you're claiming, you haven't shown them to anyone?
I haven't, no.
Okay. Now, you've said that you don't know where Chief Swanson is at any given time, correct?
Correct.
So you're not aware that he might arrange his schedule to allow flex time to come in at a certain hour and work later in the evening? You don't have any knowledge of that?
No.
In your mind, he's supposed to be there at a certain hour because that's his job.
Yes.
So you don't know about all the nights, weekends, and holidays he might be responding to calls or working?
I know he comes in weekends.
Pardon me?
I know he does come in some weekends, work some shifts.
You don't know that he actually is required to work more than 40 hours?
I do not know.
Okay. So when you see him leaving and coming, you think it's somehow related to his pay, correct?
I don't have an answer for that.
Okay. And there's never been a time that Chief Swanson has not responded to calls, correct?
With me or with who?
To your knowledge, with anyone?
He has not responded to calls with other people. I do know that.
So you believe that he doesn't respond to calls from other people?
Correct.
And that's something you've heard as gossip or rumors?
Correct.
So you're not aware that there will be no evidence that Chief Swanson does not respond to calls?
I don't think the witness knows that there will be no evidence. She can only testify as to what she knows from her work, not what the evidence in this proceeding is.
Okay. Who are these people that allegedly told you that he doesn't respond to calls?
Dispatchers.
Okay. So therefore...
Are you talking phone calls or service calls?
I'm talking about calls.
Phone calls?
Calls.
I think she needs to.
Phone calls or service calls?
Yeah. Are you referring, Attorney Frost, to phone calls or service calls when you ask that question?
I thought we were talking about calls that that the dispatchers make to him that he doesn't respond to.
Phone calls?
That's what you said, right?
Or to go out on a call to help somebody?
To your knowledge, has
He
Chief...
goes out on the calls to help somebody.
He's never
Phone
refused to
calls.
do that.
Phone calls, if they call him sometimes, he will not be available.
Okay. And this is information you got from gossip.
I've seen him try to call him.
Okay. But there's never been an occasion that you've heard about where he hasn't responded to a call to go out? Service call?
He goes out on the service calls.
Okay. And he's never refused to do that?
No.
Okay. Have you told people that Chief Swanson works 1 hour a day on police duties?
Have I told someone?
Yeah. Is that gossip you've spread?
I haven't spread.
Objection.
Gossip.
The
Have you
gossip
t-
thing is a little bit argumentative, so
Okay,
I have
I
to
can-
have you ask the question. but
Have you
gossip.
told anyone that Chief Swanson only works 1 hour a day?
In the report to Burgess, there was a statement that I said I think he only puts in about an hour's work a day.
Are you saying the only person you've ever told that to is Mr. Burgess?
Yes.
Okay. And that wasn't true, right? That he only works 1 hour a day?
Yes, it's true.
So that's your testimony today, is that Chief Swanson works 1 hour a day as a police chief?
Not every single day.
Okay. You don't keep track of what Chief Swanson is doing when he is out of the office, correct?
I don't keep track of it.
You don't know if he's been to physical therapy when he comes back into the office?
He's, once in a while I hear him say he's going to PT.
But on every occasion, you don't know what he's doing.
I don't know what he's doing, no.
It's not your job to monitor the chief's schedule.
He's not in the office, I don't know, there's nothing on Valcor where he is. He just leaves.
But it's not your job to monitor his schedule, is it?
No.
And you haven't brought in any records or any kind of logs that you've personally kept about his comings and goings?
No.
And you said that you were upset because you heard Chief Swanson on the phone making some plans for his evening or weekend activities.
Okay.
Are you claiming that that violates some policy?
No.
And you were the one who accused Chief Swanson of not handling tickets properly, correct?
What kind of tickets?
Outstanding tickets totaling $160 from
We have
a
an
police
objection.
officer.
Hold on a second.
Objection, that was not, that issue, I didn't hear that issue raised on direct, so I don't understand why that's coming up on cross.
Yeah.
That issue is included in the allegations against Chief Swanson in the Loudermill letters.
But I don't think I heard it as part of her direct
But she is the
examination
person that
responses.
gave the information
Where did she give that information?
to Mr. Burgess and that she was the person that handles the parking tickets.
Okay, I'll allow
Yeah,
that.
I just, again, if that's the grounds for overruling the objection, is that subject, I believe, if we look to the notice and decision documents, that it is not a grounds cited by the manager as a reason for the discipline. So it's totally irrelevant.
It is a grounds. It's in the letters.
But it sounds like the grounds are narrowing at this point. Is that fair to say? Attorney
Oh,
Fletcher?
today we're taking it off of the table?
So the grounds are what's cited in the February 2025 letter, except that that was narrowed some in the decision that was issued February 23, 2025.
Okay.
Am I correct that this issue of potentially looking into the question of parking tickets was not raised in the February 20, not included in the February 20 letter, which was sent, it says explicitly, to clarify what were the issues that Mr. Duffy was considering possible discipline on. So this is barking up a tree that there's no reason to go.
If you look at that letter, it absolutely only excludes the October 13th. It says directly, I am imposing this discipline with the exception of the October 13 incident that I have not relied on. It refers back to the original Loudermill letter and the second Loudermill letter. Today is the first time I am hearing that the issue of $160 from outstanding tickets has been removed from the allegations against Chief
Not to
Swanson.
belabor, but the February 20 letter speaks for itself. This is it right here. And
Repeat the motion letter that references the February 20th.
exactly. So thank you. The notice of demotion says, I am taking this action for the reasons in the February 20 letter, except for the following things that were in the February 20 letter. There is no evidence, there is no truth to the idea that this thing that may have been raised in the January letter when issues were being looked at, possibly broader scope at that time. So, again, it's just not relevant,
Okay.
period.
Well, the February 20th letter refers back to the January letter as well. So if it's off the table.
Objection sustained. Move on.
Okay, all right. You testified in direct about someone who wanted to make complaints against Billings Farm,
Correct.
And Chief Swanson decided in his role as chief that this was not something he was going to pursue?
Correct.
You second-guessed his decision-making on that?
He said that he was just kind of blew it off.
Did you determine in your role as administrative secretary that it was something that required intervention?
I thought it was important.
And when Chief Swanson decided it wasn't, you decided that he was wrong?
Yeah, I thought it was wrong.
You found only one occasion in July 2023 when Chief Swanson elected not to attend traffic court.
He did not.
One occasion in 15 months.
I didn't, yes,
Other officers miss traffic court on occasion, correct?
they do.
You said you have you keep records. You have a
I do.
notebook about
Yep.
who doesn't go.
I pretty much know who goes and doesn't go.
So it's fair to say that that means that Chief Swanson only missed once in 15 months, right?
Correct.
If there were more, you certainly would have told us about it.
Correct.
Okay. And I'm correct that you've never made any official complaints about Chief Swanson, correct?
Correct.
You haven't discussed with Chief Swanson you're upset about his messy desk, correct?
Correct.
You haven't discussed with him the condition of his trash can.
Correct.
You haven't discussed with him your concerns about his fashion choices.
Correct.
You haven't discussed with him your concerns about where he's going during the day.
Correct.
These are all things that you're claiming were occurring for many months, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And this union vote, where did that occur?
At the Emergency Services Building.
Who was there?
The union.
Objection, this is possibly intruding on concerted activity.
I am concerned about how this is relevant.
It's relevant because they're using the no confidence vote, union vote, against Chief Swanson.
Yes, and we have that in evidence, but who was there? I mean, we can expect that the union voted on it and approved it, but in terms of who was there, I don't know that that's relevant to Mr. Swanson's, whether he received due process, just cause in this proceeding.
Well, I don't think the whole issue of the no confidence vote is relevant, but we're discussing it.
We are, and the letter speaks for itself. And I think you could ask about the concept of it, but in terms of who was there, I don't think that's relevant.
And they're also saying it was unanimous. So I think I have a right to know, if it's unanimous, how many of these people were actually...
That's a fair question, I think, too, but in terms of who was there, I don't think that's relevant.
Can you tell me what the process was in terms of how this no confidence vote arose?
All the union members voted on it.
Oh, and on what basis?
You read the letter.
The things that you've been discussing today?
Correct.
Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. So, do you know why there were two drafts of the letter?
It was just a typo.
Why were both drafts given to Mr. Duffy?
We felt that was the correct thing to do.
Did you personally deliver both
Yes,
drafts?
I did.
To Mr. Duffy?
Yes, I did.
So you delivered the one that didn't say unanimously, and then you delivered the one that said unanimously, both at the same time?
No.
Oh, well,
One was in the morning, one was in the afternoon.
So you brought one in the morning, and then you
Yes.
brought one. Did you
Yes.
have any discussions with Mr. Duffy in
No,
between that?
No,
Who made the decision to change it?
I don't remember.
Now, you were notified on February 20th that Chief Swanson would be coming into the office, correct?
Correct.
And he said hello to you when he arrived,
No, we
correct?
did not.
Your door was open, right?
My office door is always open,
Okay,
but you need a code to get into the building.
okay. And Chief Swanson never raised his voice to you, did he?
No,
He didn't use any foul language?
no,
He didn't say anything hostile?
no,
He didn't ask you for any information?
no,
He didn't ask you to do anything for him?
no.
And when Chief Swanson left, you immediately told Mr. Duffy that you felt threatened, intimidated, and uncomfortable, correct?
Correct.
You thought that would be helpful to Mr. Duffy?
Yes,
You thought it would be helpful to Mr. Duffy in his case against Chief Swanson? that correct?
I'm not going to answer that.
You're not going to answer that? Can you instruct the witness to answer?
We need you to answer the
Okay,
question. Ms.
answer the, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, you thought it would be helpful to Mr. Duffy in his case against Chief Swanson.
Yes,
And when Mr. Duffy replied, it was to reassure you that no decision had been made about Chief Swanson's return, correct?
correct.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Attorney Flesh?
Just clarify, Michelle, please, that even though we only looked at one exhibit of an example of a Valcor record that didn't have a narrative entered, am I correct to understand that you have actually viewed multiple Valcor records that were Chief Swanson's cases, and you found that they did not have?
Objection, leading.
Can you make it an open-ended question, counsel?
Yes. Michelle, are there other Valcor records you have viewed, other than the exhibit submitted today, that speaks to whether Chief Swanson does or does not timely submit report information?
Yes.
And what have you seen?
I've seen other cases that should be filled out.
The Billings Farm matter we heard about,
Correct.
did Chief Swanson return the return call or contact the complainant?
I do not know.
Attorney Frass asked you about traffic court being one incident in 15 months of Chief Swanson's time as chief.
Correct.
How many times did Chief Swanson have traffic court during his time when he was serving as chief?
I do not recall.
Okay. Were there more times than that one time?
That he didn't attend?
No. How many times was he supposed to go to traffic court during the time he was chief?
During the time he was just chief?
Yes.
That was the only one.
So he was 0
Just
for
that
1.
Just that one.
And the talk about the 2 different no confidence letters, is the reason that a second letter was brought to Mr. Duffy that the word unanimous was inadvertently omitted from the first letter?
Objection, leading again.
Is it possible, counsel, to make that into a non-leading question?
Yes. Just want clarification of why it was determined appropriate to bring a second version of the letter to Mr. Duffy.
That was what we were supposed to do. I mean, bring it to Eric.
In other words, what is it? We talked about the difference between the 2 letters is the word unanimous, right?
Correct.
Okay. You or the union felt it ought to modify the letter to clarify on that point?
Yes.
Objection, leading again.
I think he's developing the testimony on that one. I will allow the question.
Okay, the answer is yes?
Yes.
All right. Right now, you said that you had not brought some of your concerns about Chief Swanson to him directly.
To Chief Swanson?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Can you help us understand why you didn't do that?
It's not my place.
Okay. And Attorney Fraz asked you about working 1 hour, and my question is, are you talking about 1 hour of active police work is what you think he may do on a given day, or something else?
Yes.
Active police work?
Yes. Not every day.
Yeah. So you're not necessarily asserting that, he's literally only working 1 hour?
Right.
And you answered the question that you thought it would be helpful to Mr. Duffy's pursuit of discipline to bring to his attention Chief Swanson's visit on February 20?
Yes,
Okay. Does that fact affect whether what you described is accurate?
that's accurate.
Okay. You weren't motivated to tell Mr. Duffy something because you wanted to help him?
No.
One last question, Michelle. Attorney Frass asked you some questions whether some of the observations you've made are appropriate for a secretary to have, I believe she said. Am I correct that your job title is administrative supervisor?
Correct.
Thank you. No further questions.
Attorney Frass.
You told Mr. Burgess that you were secretary, correct?
Administrative assistant.
Okay, hold on. I just need to find this from the interview. Okay. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes. How about Mr. Hearing Officer instead of Your Honor? It's a little too far.
I'm sorry. I'm probably going to make that mistake a lot.
I
Just
understand.
enjoy it. Ms. Sutherland, when you were asked by Mr. Burgess in his interview what your position was here at the department, I'm just going to read this together.
Secretary.
You said secretary, correct?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
I think the board has a question.
No, it was answered.
Oh, it was answered. Okay. All right. All right. With that, you are excused. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Attorney Flash.
So our next witness is Teri Poljacik.
Okay. Christine, could you, or whoever, could we grab the witness, please? Have a seat right here, please. Want to take your jacket off, or are you comfortable? Okay. All right, the first order of business is that I'm going to swear you in. So could I ask you to raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony that you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Attorney Clark.
Okay. Good morning. Would you give us your name again for the record?
Teri Poljacik.
Okay. Hi, Teri. My name's John Klesch, attorney for the town. We've spoken before. For the manager, I should say. What is your current position at Woodstock Town
Parking.
Village Police Department?
Parking enforcement.
Okay. And you are here this morning at the request of the municipal manager, is that correct?
Correct.
And how long have you had your current position?
I've been working for the town off and on for 20 years.
And your schedule as a parking enforcement employee, what do you work?
10 to 4, 3 days a week.
Okay. And very briefly, what are your duties?
Enforce the parking rules of the village.
What does that practically mean? Like, are you out giving tickets, doing meters?
Yes.
Okay. Is that most of what your work is?
Yes.
Okay. And do you, when you are working, do you have a chance to see when Chief Swanson is at work?
Yes.
Okay. And what have you observed in terms of Chief Swanson's presence at the department compared to chiefs that came before him?
What specifically?
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry. Just ask you to speak up if you could, please.
What specifically?
In terms of his presence, his being present at the department, have you seen any difference in terms of how Chief Swanson conducts that aspect of his work compared to, say, Chief Blish, for example?
They're all different.
Okay. Is Chief Swanson around any more or less than Chief Blish was?
Less.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Okay. Now, am I right that on occasion you've spoken to Chief Swanson about the parking meters?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall an occasion when Chief Swanson was having difficulty using a credit card to pay parking on a meter?
Yeah.
Okay. And during that conversation, did he say something to you that was, I'll just use this word, derogatory about your job in the department?
Yes.
Okay. Can you remember, best of your recollection, what he said?
Basically told my job was stupid.
How did that make you feel?
Not real good.
Now, have you ever, I don't want to get into any naming individuals, but I want to ask you whether you've had the experience of any family members of Chief Swanson saying anything you felt was disrespectful to you while you were on duty?
Objection, lack of relevance to anything related to Chief Swanson.
Do you have proffer counsel on that?
Yeah.
I fail to see the relevance right now.
The relevance is going to be her bringing the matter to Chief Swanson's attention and the manner in which Chief Swanson did not take it seriously.
Objection denied. Proceed.
Okay. Do you have the question, Terry, or should I ask it again?
Ask it again.
Okay. Yep, so I don't want to name anybody's name, but has there been occasion when you felt a member of Chief Swanson's family spoke to you in a way that was disrespectful, and I'm talking about while you were on duty?
Yes.
Okay. And have you brought that concern to Chief Swanson?
Yes.
Okay. And how would you characterize Chief Swanson's reaction when you did so?
I felt it was brushed off.
Did he tell you whether he was going to do anything about it when you brought it to his attention?
I don't recall.
Now, I understand that there may have been an occasion not long before, around the time Chief went on leave in October 2024, when you were on duty and there was some kind of a traffic problem out on High Street during foliage season. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, okay. And do you recall on this day in question whether the department had staffed up extra officers because of, anticipated traffic around foliage?
Yes, there was extra on.
Okay. And without going too deep into it, where and what was the problem that was taking place?
It was High Street, and there was a complaint of congestion of traffic.
Okay. And is dealing with traffic something that you as parking enforcement typically handle?
Not typically that far out.
Okay. Did the chief or did anybody send additional officers out to help with the situation?
No.
Okay. Were you told to deal with the situation?
Yes.
And were you called by Chief Swanson and told to deal with the situation?
Yes.
Okay. And around that time, I understand you went back to the department.
Yes.
And did you observe where all the officers who were on duty were at that time?
They're all right in the first room when you walk in,
And what were they doing?
having lunch.
Okay. So are you wondering why one of those officers who were having lunch wouldn't have been sent out
Objection,
to assist with the traffic problem?
Denied. It's an open-ended question.
Yeah, I called them out on it. So Why are you sending me? Everybody's here.
Okay. Now, have you ever, during the time Chief Swanson was chief, have you ever ticketed his personal vehicle during off-duty hours?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And during that time, have Chief Swanson ever addressed with you, you giving a ticket to him on his personal vehicle?
Another family member did.
I'm sorry?
Another family member did.
A family member texted you about a ticket you gave?
No,
Sorry, go ahead.
I did not get a text from another family member.
Okay. Did you get a text from Chief Swanson?
I've had texts from him, but I don't know if it was on that.
Okay. So I'll ask the question, Terry, and if the answer is no, that's fine, of course, right? Do you recall whether Chief Swanson has ever texted you complaining about parking tickets issued to him personally or to a family member of his personally?
No.
Okay. Have you thought about what you're going to do with your employment at Woodstock Police Department if Chief Swanson is restored to active service as chief?
Yes.
And can you tell the trustees what it is you've chosen?
I will be done.
Okay. I have no further questions for the witness at this time. I think I need to just check with my folks. I do just need one more moment. I apologize. Okay. May I approach the witness? Yes. Show her Burgess.
For what?
Her Burgess transcript.
Oh, what is the purpose of this?
Well, we'll get to that, but I'm telling you what I've got in my hand.
Are you refreshing her recollection?
Try.
Okay.
Terry, I asked you about whether you recall having gotten a text from Chief Swanson complaining about parking ticket given to him on a personal vehicle or to a family member on a personal vehicle, right?
Mm-hmm.
You said yes out loud.
Yes,
Okay, and you told me you don't remember.
correct.
Right. Okay. So I have here a copy of the write-up of your interview with Mr. Burgess, and I'm going to ask you to look at a section of it, and then I'm going to ask you if that does or doesn't refresh your recollection.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm just handing the exhibit, the document to the witness. I'd ask you to read that bottom section, and then I'm going to just double check with you to see if that does or doesn't cause you to remember something.
Is this an exhibit, counsel?
No.
Okay.
Okay, Teri, you've taken a look at what I handed you?
Yes?
Okay, so I'm just going to ask now whether, having looked at what you just looked at, does that change your memory as to whether Chief Swanson has ever sent you a text complaining, I'll use that word for lack of a better word, about a parking ticket?
It wasn't in a text.
Okay. Do you recall Chief Swanson speaking to you about something, complaining about you having issued a parking ticket to either him or some other personal associate on a personal vehicle?
The way you say it doesn't make sense to me.
Have you ever heard Chief Swanson complain to you or speak to you about being unhappy about a parking ticket you gave somebody?
Again, you're not making sense to me.
Has Chief Swanson ever complained to you about a parking ticket you gave him or a personal acquaintance of his?
The wording is not working for me.
Okay. If you have an idea of what I'm asking, do you want to just tell us what you recall having anything to do with that subject?
That's a little open. Can you just ask a simpler question of the witness, Attorney Klosh?
Yes. Has Chief Swanson ever complained to you about a parking ticket?
We complain about tickets together all the time because my job is parking. So, but you're not being specific.
Has he complained about a ticket that he got from you?
I do not believe I've written him directly a ticket. It was family members.
Okay. Has he complained to you about a ticket you gave a family member?
No. Not the way you're talking about it.
Okay.
The family member made the complaints.
Okay. All right. I have no further questions.
Just have a very couple. I also need to clarify, it appears that another charge against Chief Swanson is being eliminated, that this witness would testify to. And before I cross, I just want to make sure that that's off the record. Can I?
You want to confer with counsel?
I would like to confirm that this allegation that he shared some kind of passcode to the building is no longer an issue. This is the witness that you would have been relying on, that he would say that he had shared something. Is that no longer on the table?
I'm not clear what it is the question that you're asking.
I'm asking if you are taking the allegations against Chief Swanson off the table that he ever shared a passcode to the police department with his husband.
Well, I'll have to confer before I can answer that question.
All right, I just have a couple of questions and we can move on. Ms. Poljacik, I really just have a couple and you'll be free to go. You learned that Chief Swanson was put on leave around October of 2024, correct?
Correct?
And after that, I think you described that as the time everything went hooey over there on that one Sunday. Does that sound right? Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Now, after that incident, you went to Mr. Duffy and told him that there were things that people didn't like about Chief Swanson, right?
I actually did that way before October, I believe.
But you worked with Chief Swanson for 15 months, correct?
Yes?
And you never made any complaints about him, right?
Objection, that's the opposite of what she just testified.
Official complaints.
Let me just be clear. What is an official complaint?
Writing. An official complaint is something, there's a process for, we'll get into that with some of the other, there's a process for official complaints. I think we're just talking about verbal complaints, right?
Okay, proceed.
Okay. So you went to, is it true that after
the October 13th incident, you went to Mr. Duffy. I'm not, you may have gone to him before, but I'm talking about after the October 13th incident now.
I don't recall.
Pardon me?
I don't recall.
Okay. Do you remember telling him that you were the low person on the totem pole, that you had the least to lose, and you were going to tell him about what other people were saying?
That was before October.
Okay. Well, may I approach the witness, Your Honor, with your
Yes.
prior statement? So, Ms. Poljacik, according to your statement, you said that after you said that you were the low person on the totem pole, am I reading this right? You said, I'll go, and that's when they all started loosening up and saying what they didn't like, because I'd finally broken the ice for them.
Could we get a reference to where in the document,
Page 6,
more specifically?
the fourth paragraph.
And I went to him way before October, and then we had this thing going on. I repeated what I said in October.
So you went back to him right after the incident?
He wasn't there for that. That was that Burgess thing.
Right, but you went to Eric after the October 13th incident, correct?
Not with that statement, no. You're making it up.
Well, it says here you talked to people and they all started loosening up and saying
That was before October.
And did you also go again after October?
To that thing, yes.
Okay. So the time you're talking about when people were loosening up and saying everything about Chief Swanson, you think that was before October?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Teri. I have no further questions.
Attorney Clash?
I believe now that the council has actually read from the exhibit, or had the witness read from the exhibit, I'm entitled to have it entered into evidence.
That's not the rule.
What's the proffer on it? Why is it necessary? And what is it? Because I actually don't know what it is
It's-
specifically.
Go
It's
ahead.
the Burgess statement. It was used for impeachment purposes. It's not an exhibit, and these are not evidentiary materials.
Attorney Clash?
It's a transcript of testimony that she just had the witness read from, so I believe I'm entitled to introduce the transcript so that it's in context. I believe that is the rule.
And are you talking about the entirety of the transcript of this witness?
That would be my proffer, yeah, in order to not have to deal with slicing it up.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we would like to see that, and we should see that. on
So
that basis.
I'd move admission of a copy of the transcript of Ms. Poljacik's statement to Mr. Burgess.
Counsel?
That's completely improper. He can, if he thinks that it is, there's a section that I misquoted, he's allowed to read the whole, that part of the section. I will have much more cross-examination if this is going in. I am not done with this witness if this is going in, because it also includes things about, that are no longer in, I guess, allegations here that have been put in. And I will have more cross-examination if this is going in.
Attorney Clash, is it possible to narrow down what you're proposing?
Did you say, I ask counsel, did you say you were having the witness refer to page 6 of the exhibit?
Yes.
Okay, then I would at least move admission of page 6.
Your Honor, I'm sorry. Attorney Monahan, page 6 includes things that this witness has not testified to on direct, that she apparently testified to or talked to Mr. Burgess about, that Mr. Duffy is no longer claiming, for one thing. And then there's also things that just were not brought up today. If he wants to bring them up, it should be brought up now.
Okay, well, if I could briefly redirect, I'll bring up what's on page 6 and we'll put page 6 in evidence.
I think that's appropriate on that limited issue. Now, it is 12:04, so I would really like to finish with this witness so that we can take our lunch break and be done.
Okay. Let me ask you, Teri, about just one other subject. Have you observed Chief being out of uniform while on duty?
Yes.
And just elaborate a little bit, what's the kind of thing you've seen and observed in that capacity?
T-shirts, gym shorts, sweatpants.
How's that compare to what you would see prior chiefs like Chief Blish do?
dressed down a lot more,
Chief Swanson is dressed down more.
correct?
Okay. And do you sometimes see Chief Swanson driving around town in a police department vehicle out of uniform?
Yes.
And do you know if it's when he's on duty?
I have no idea knowing when he's on duty and not.
Okay. Okay. Then no further questions, but I would still again move. Okay, let me back up. I do see the passcode thing at the top of page 6.
Pardon me?
I do see the thing at the top of page 6 regarding the passcode. That is the concern that you've raised being admitted?
I'm not agreeing to admit this. Why are you still on this? I thought you took care of your issues by questioning her.
Okay, I'm fine with withdrawing the proffer of her transcript.
Thank you. Any recross?
Just very quick, Ms. Poljacik, you said that you've been unhappy with Chief Swanson way before October 13th, right?
Yes,
But you never indicated that you were going to be done with your job before then, correct?
no, I have,
Okay, but you're still here, right?
so far.
Okay, so when you say you're going to be done, maybe you'll still be here, right?
Nope, I'll be
Okay,
done.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You are excused. We will come back at 10 after 1 unless there are any questions from this board. Okay, 10 after 1, thank you.
I'm done.
You're done. Thank you.